To anyone that like mothers or helps take care, like if you're an aunt, if you're a friend, if you're a sister, you don't have your own kids, but you help shape a kid's life,
Amazing work.
like you are doing an amazing work. And
Mm-hmm.
so don't forget that and know that like your name is being written down in history as you doing your best job. So hi friend, this is Annette.
This is Jared.
And welcome to our Happy Family podcast.
We're passionate about happy, healthy relationships.
And that only happens with happy, healthy people.
So join us each week as we discuss the ingredients of making your own happy family.
Thanks for joining us. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Happy Family podcast. It's going to be a fun one today. It is going to be all about moms.
Go, Mom.
And it was just Mother's Day a couple days ago. So we're going to play off of that and carry that as our theme. Specifically, secrets to being a supermom, or whatever that means.
I love it.
I was thinking about this episode and different things to record. I almost just knocked over our camera that's filming me. And I realized that, you have different like childhood memories and stuff, but sometimes there's certain ones that maybe like stick out a little bit more than others. And I have one about my mom that I remember fondly, so I thought I would share.
Go for it.
Okay. So when I was a little kid, I was born in Kansas City, grew up in Kansas City, and then we moved to Texas for a bit. And when we moved to Texas, it was just my mom and I at home. My dad's a retired minister now, but then he was a pastor, so he was out during the day. I don't know, now when I think about it, I don't know, visiting people. I'm not sure what he was doing out during the day. Pastoring, whatever pastors do, which is a lot, by the way. And I was home with my mom, and she homeschooled me. So I was one of those homeschool kids, which I think of very fondly, and I hope to homeschool my kid. But it was kind of the time where she was starting homeschool actual things with me. So I think I was probably like 5 or 6. I don't remember an exact age, but I remember that in the morning she would say, "Don't come out of your room yet. Wait for the bus to pick you up." Well, obviously a bus was not picking me up because I wasn't going to actual school. She was the bus. So I would be in my room and I would get ready and I would have my little backpack. I remember I had like a little backpack, and she would get on all fours and crawl to my door and like honk or whatever noise she'd make. And I would open the door and it'd be like, "Hello, good morning. The bus is ready to take you to school." And I would climb on her like like I guess when you pretend like you're a lion or a tiger, and you climb on top. And she was the bus that would drive me to school. So we would go all the way from my room, which wasn't very far, but all the way from my room down through the living room into the kitchen, where I would go to the table and then we would do like some of our schoolwork or whatever. And, looking back, that was a fun memory, or something that I don't know why it's always stuck in my mind some, and I've always thought, oh, I should do that with Ava. But it's the little things that I think as a kid you look back and remember that your mom, was a super mom. And it was in just fun things like that. I don't know. Do you have any story that you remember as a kid with your mom?
I remember whenever I was sick. So, you remember those were miserable moments. And my mom was
as a
always
boy.
there, to help out. Yes, boys, we can't handle sickness. So, always there. And then I think about in high school, and I was playing basketball, and I would get so mad when we lost or maybe I didn't play good. And I would scream, and I'm so mad. I remember my mom would just listen. "I understand you're upset." Which is so calm. When it's like, if I'm her, I'm slapping me. "Shut up. This doesn't even matter. We're talking about basketball." And I think I would unnerve my dad more. He'd be like, "Why are you talking like this?" But yeah, my mom is just always calm and collected and
She's
cool.
She's a pretty calm person. Yeah.
And she
That's
worked
funny.
hard and yet balanced a lot. So
She homeschooled you too for a
moms,
while.
yeah. Yeah, I'm all about it.
I think a lot of times as a mom, it's funny because now that I am a mom now, so for a long time, we were married a long time before we had Ava. And so like 13 years. And there's all these things people say or about motherhood and different things. And honestly, none of it really hit home or made a lot of sense till now I have a kid. But, there's all these things of like, oh, a super mom, there's maybe like this stigma that you have to do everything. Or there was like some things that I wrote down here, like, you're a super mom, you never complain. You're never stressed. You do everything at home. Like the house is perfect. The laundry's always done. Oh, I should put in there. The socks are always matched and, and folded and put away. You don't forget anything. Everything is spotless. You have like all the cute snacks. And now it's funny as I read that, I'm like, oh man, the cute snacks. I think I've yet to make like the really cute, like pancakes that are different shapes and things like that. Anyways, yeah,
Hold on, I'm going to comment on that.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
funny because if you lump in all of the high bar expectations,
Right,
people would say, well, let's see, a supermom needs to be a house cleaning company.
right.
They need to be a grocery delivery Uber Eats company.
Hmm.
They need to, maybe it's pay bills or manage this thing or that thing and be a mom and be a bus driver. And it's like, wow, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then in our society today, I think motherhood has changed a lot, or the age range, like people are having kids a lot later in life
Oh, yeah.
sometimes, um, with
It's no longer feasible. Well, mostly for the most part, for one income in the family. So
right.
two people have to work.
Yeah, a lot of times moms are not home as much. They have to work. A lot of moms are single moms. They
Mhm.
have to work multiple jobs a lot of times. Um, so it's a lot. It's a
Mhm.
lot to not only be responsible for little people that you have to raise and hope that they turn out, great, but also all the other, responsibilities. And so I think there is a lot of pressure, and it's this thought of like, can you be this like super mom and do it all? And I think what's needed in the world today is maybe a change in mindset of, not can you be this super mom and be the be all end all everything, but to be the best mom you can be in your version of what a best mom can be. We're all so different. I think being a mom to me is definitely not one of those things where it's cookie cutter and we all fit into this exact style and mold. I think everyone being so different probably has to figure out their own way to be an amazing mom in what works for them and their family and their time.
How do you think social media has played into the new competing game of
Oh, I
moms?
think it's terrible. I had some notes. I think we have a couple things. I'll tell you.
All
Do you want
right.
me? Do you want me to jump into that? I can talk about it now.
Okay.
Okay. So I think social media has made it really hard for moms
Okay. Why?
because before you might have compared yourself to the mom that you met up with at the park or saw at the park, that I don't know, I'm making stuff up. That had like the super nice stroller and her kids were like perfectly dressed and put together. So in your mind, you're like, wow, she really has it together. Like, well, now you're exposed to that version of a mom constantly on social media on your phone. So not only it's just I think this idea, so actually here's one of my few points. It's this idea of like being a super mom doesn't mean perfection. And I think there's a couple things in society. I think people put pressure on women to have this I do think even in the day we live in, as many advancements as women have made in society, I think there's a greater expectation on women to be a perfect parent versus a male to be a perfect parent or dad. I think there is more of an expectation on the female to do her job like best. Like they'll say examples, for example, like if there's a picture of a mom and someone knows she has kids and she's posting like, oh, I'm out doing this or something. And people are like, why is she doing that? Where is she? Where's her kids? What is she doing? Versus if the dad posts like, hey, I'm out doing this. Everyone's like, good for you for going and doing something.
Right.
And no one's like, why aren't you taking care of your kids?
Yeah.
So I think there's a societal thing of perfection. And I think then there's our own, conscious or voice telling you like, hey, are you doing the best? Are you being, great mom, perfect, all those things. So it's hard, I think.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been this idea of a friend of mine years ago. She's a mom and business owner, entrepreneur that did all these things. And she had these planners. And anyways, her kind of slogan was grace, not perfection. And the thought of like, hey, handle yourself with as much grace as possible. Give yourself grace in the moments where you can't be that perfect version, and realize that it's okay, because we're our own worst critic. But with social media and everything online, it's hard because everything appears perfect. And that's where I feel like with me, in the fact that I am on social media a lot and I show my life a lot, I've tried to be pretty real in terms of, what's real life, what's not real life and stuff. But it's hard, like you only see, like people only see what, like 3 minutes of my day, and there's 24 hours in a day. So
Sure.
This is like your reminder. If you think someone's life looks perfect, a lot of times the people whose lives look most perfect are probably the most not perfect. And know that, not everything you see is what's true. Or
Can I ask you a controversial question?
oh,
This
I
may
don't
be very
sure.
crude.
Oh boy.
Do you ever see some moms where you're like, she needs to do better?
Yeah. And is that bad? I feel bad saying that.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, you're going down
But
the
one
path
thing-
of moms, take it easy on yourselves. And I think that's good advice because you're right. With social media and everything, it's
Yeah.
like, man, I got to do all these things amazingly while guys are trapped in our dopamine drugs of
Yeah, we
video
talked
games
about
and
that
porn
last-
and sports and all this stuff. So, yeah.
But where I
women have it
say
hard.
that is not, here's one thing I will say though. I think there's times where you're like, oh man, like maybe they should do this or could do this. But I have tried for myself, and what's the expression, like where you eat your own words, or is that an expression correct? Anyways, I've realized as a parent now that the thought of like never say never is very true. And I've talked to your sister about this because she had kids before we did. And I remember thinking like, oh, why can't, I've told her this, like just different things. Like, why can't, you guys organize this better? Or why is it always like, oh, the kid, we got to go because the kid, and it's always like, oh my, everyone's life just revolves around. And it's like, you never say never, because once you have the kid, then it's like, oh, I understand. You do have this, like camaraderie, this like thing that you realize, okay. And so I've tried very hard to say, first of all, like never say never, and be like, oh, I'm not going to be one of those parents that lets my kid go out looking like, they're not clean. And, oh yeah, well, my kid has looks like that. Just things where whatever. So I feel like it's best to try to not judge somebody else's, parenting or decisions. I think where maybe you think, oh, they could do better is like, if something like, oh, I know something that could help them do that better or be a better parent in that area. I think that there's also a fine line there in being like suggesting your thing. Cause again, everyone's different. Your parenting's different, style, whatever.
Well, it's definitely, I've definitely seen a controversial point for moms, and I guess it could be dads too, as form of punishment.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's
they spank their children.
Yeah.
they don't even spank their children.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
this
like
end
the,
of the
oh yeah,
spectrum.
there's the whole spectrum there. But again, that is one of those things where there are general guidelines, I'm sure, that fall into the parenting guidelines. Like, for example, I like to relate everything to gardening or the outdoors. In gardening, it is recommended that you plant tomato plants 12 to 18 inches apart because that is optimal for root development, for growth, for different things. Can you cram them a little closer sometimes? Sure. Do people space them further apart sometimes? Sure. Everyone is different. Every child is different. So what might work for me might not work for,
Do you remember we had someone, I think they came to our church and they did a parenting seminar, and then someone finds out after, they don't have children.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's literally like you just heard somebody like, oh, okay, we got a fraud on
It's
our
like
hands.
basically just throw out whatever notes you took.
Whatever they were saying doesn't matter.
So what's funny is this is on a little bit different subject, but the idea, my parents, there was this pastor in Cuba. My parents are from Cuba. If you did not know this, my parents knew this pastor in Cuba that was like known for like wanting to be like a marriage expert pastor. Like he always wanted to give like marital advice, and he would, if people were getting married, he was doing like the couple advice, like the whole thing. He was never married. And I think people were like, dude, like
Yeah,
at some
sorry.
point you can't, so yes. And I feel like, there's a wide range in life of people. There's people who want to have kids and can't have kids. There's a lot of reasons why. And so I try to be very sensitive to that subject because I will say it's a real thing nowadays where some people really want to have kids and they can't. And so, but if you don't have kids, sometimes there's things you just might not understand or be able to relate until
That's fair.
until they're
That's
until
fair.
they're around. So yeah, anyways.
All right, here we go. Stick
Yeah.
to the script here.
Yeah, what's your script?
This is the idea of being a supermom. It means accepting the enormous responsibility inherent in the job, but cutting yourself a little slack sometimes. You are allowed to hide in the bathroom and cry for a little bit. That makes me think of the Spanx founder, Sarah Blakely. I saw this post one time she makes about, sometimes I just try and hide so I can eat a little bit or so I can breathe a little bit.
No. Like, well, I think it's because it's a lot. It can be overwhelming to have someone need you 24/7 and you literally feel like I have zero time. So yeah, if you need to lock yourself, and sometimes you can't even lock yourself in the bathroom because my kid has figured out how to unlock the bathroom. So I'll go in there and lock it and she'll be like, "Mommy," and she'll like go get her butter knife that she knows how to like unlock the door, and then she's like walking in and I'm like, "Okay, well."
It's like like we've raised a little bitty beautiful Chucky. And
exactly.
she's demanding food.
Like,
she's demanding you play with her. She's demanding you take her places.
It's like crazy. But
and if you're not, well.
Yeah. So anyways, it's okay to take a minute to yourself sometimes. I think you'll realize your true parenting moment when you've probably never done this. Jared doesn't need to do this. He doesn't like sweets. So anyways, he doesn't fall into that category. But for the longest time, we're trying to have Ava, especially the first 2 years of her life, like, you don't do a lot of, like, she had no sugar, no sweets, no chocolate, anything. Well, I like chocolate. So I've gone into the pantry and shoved a piece of chocolate in my mouth.
She's watching. What's in your mouth?
Mommy, what are you doing? Nothing, honey. I smell something. What'd you eat? What's in your mouth? Open your mouth. I'm like, oh my word. Come on.
That's our daughter.
So
Never stop her.
Anyways, so yeah, the thought of like being a super mom too, I think is realizing that, acknowledging that you can't do it all, and it's okay to lean on the people around you to help you, whether if that's your spouse or whoever you're raising your kids with, if it's, grandparents, community, anyone, it's okay to ask for help or to involve other people. And that's hard too, because sometimes I will say for me, maybe in my subconscious, it's a little bit admittance or whatever of failure if I have to ask for help. So that's a character flaw of mine, I think, because it's okay to ask for help.
Hmm.
But sometimes it's like, oh, no, it's okay. I got it. I got it. When it's like, no, if someone's saying, hey, let's do this, or hey, let me help you out with this, it's okay to say yes.
Hmm.
I think we used to do more things as a community back in the olden day. Like,
Back in the 90s.
well, yeah, I know. We're very secluded nowadays. And
Mhm.
I think especially after the pandemic, it's weird to have this like to record a podcast where you have to say where even in the last 4 years, the world is so different.
It's pretty crazy.
Just now, I think, people were like, okay, let's try to get together again. But so many people got used to doing things on their own and just really in their family, like immediate family, that, hey, it's okay to
That loneliness
get help.
is
Yeah.
skyrocketing.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah.
Okay, so this is a good one. I saw this video the other day. It said, it was this old guy. He was like 98, and they were like, what's the secret of your longevity? He listed a few things, but the third one I thought was fascinating. He said, it's been calendaring.
What does that mean?
And he basically breaks it down. He's like, I did a pretty good job of planning life. So anyway, this point's about basically you recognize you can't do everything, but what you can do, you try and schedule and recognize if this is all the hours in the day I have, I can only do what I can do. And to not hold yourself guilty for, oh, I should be doing more. Yeah, you can only do so much.
So I actually feel like that really helps me because there's always more you can do, at least in my mentality. But if you do kind of write in or fill in the things that you can accomplish, it is that more satisfactory when you're able to do it. I think at the beginning of the year, we talked a lot more about like goal setting and all those different things. It is helpful. And one thing too to note is saying no to certain things and not being able to do everything and saying no, like, no, I can't do that, is opening yourself up to saying yes to other things or to maybe having more time for other things that are more important. So it's
a
okay
long
to
time to
say
learn
no,
that. Mhm.
but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. And as a parent, it's hard sometimes to feel like you're saying, no, I can't do this or I don't have time for this. But just think about the time you are giving yourself if you say no.
Yeah, it's good.
So anyways, so this touches a little bit again on the whole thing, but like stop stressing as you look around at what other people are doing. You don't have to keep, racing to replicate what everyone else is doing. And basically you don't have to do what someone else is doing in their life as a parent. You don't need to imitate, like if they're doing this. So I will say there are a few friends I have in my life who are, to me, the definition of they do the mom stuff so good in terms of like school things, always having, like the school room mom that takes all the snacks or does this or plans like the matching shirts and the cute things and all that. And some people are just naturally gifted to be able to do all those things and stay on top of all that and do it. I'm a little more scatterbrained. Like I like doing some of that stuff, but I can't really keep up. So don't do things just because somebody else is doing them
Very
or
good
whatnot.
point.
Do it because it fits for you. It fits for you and your family.
Very good
Do
point.
not compare yourself to other moms. That is the worst thing. Comparison is 100% the thief of joy, I think, in many aspects of life. And especially as a mom, it can really rob you of joy. So it's like, don't do that to yourself.
Good one. Here's
Yeah.
one, basically embracing the now and the moment. I remember watching this video. It was basically saying, your kid is not going to be this young ever again.
That's like the
And
hardest.
tomorrow they will be older. And boy, I'm convinced, like, yeah, you can't go back. Like in eternity future, you cannot go back to today
Mm-hmm.
when for us, Ava is 4 and then she'll be 5. And then it's like, man, cherishing those moments, innocence, not losing your cool over what does not matter a week from now, let alone probably a day from now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And
just
like trying to
lightening up.
remind yourself of that too, like in the moment, like, hey, I won't have this moment again.
Like I'm gonna give an example.
It's
I know
hard.
someone who both parents, they don't both have to work. One, they could survive fine and live a great life with one of them, but they're both working because we got to provide for our kids' college. And it's like, really? Like, I just feel like you
Like
are
that time
stressing
might not
about
come.
like Google yesterday said we no longer require college. Like the
A few
world has
places
changed.
did, right?
Yeah, that's
A
Walmart and a
few
few
big
others.
places, yeah.
AI is taking that. So to the moms or dads listening, really think about that future you're trying to save for and say, you know what are the kids going to remember? They're going to remember time now, which may mean a little less work now. And kids do not care about stuff.
Well, they'll feel like they'll remember time. They remember time. Like
Time and
studies
experiences.
show, like,
Riding mom like a bus. They don't remember that
yeah,
fancy thing you bought them.
no.
Not at all.
I think we've talked about that too. We don't remember like big gifts or things. We remember like unique little moments.
That's right.
Things that didn't even, that maybe our parents didn't even think were a big deal. So it's like, don't stress over the big things
That's
and
right.
just embrace. And what I think is really cool is, to your kid, you are the best mom. They don't know a different version,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they don't know that they're, if you think they're missing out on XYZ, they don't
They don't know
they
and they
don't
don't
they
care.
don't they don't know. They don't
Like,
care.
they want to hang out with you in the floor, in the car,
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah.
They don't care about any of that other stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like, I think there are people who, let's say you didn't have the best relationship with your mom growing up, or you weren't close to your mom, and that's something that maybe you think about or affects you, is now you have kids and you're thinking about, and it's like, you be the best version that you know how.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about past things. From now forward, is you the things that you can do. I was recently at a thing, and this girl stood up and she said, and she was 18 years old, and it was interesting because I felt like it was profound. She was speaking about life experiences she had had that were really, really hard, and she was also speaking about things her and her mom had gone through, and she stood up and she said, we're all doing the best we can at life. She said, this is the only time we've done life. None of us have done this before. No one told us exactly here is your guidebook. This is what you should do. She said, we are all learning and we're all doing the best we can. And that's all we can do. So it's like, so if you're a mom, just know that you are a super mom to your kid. You can be the best version of a super mom. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't let what other people say get you down. And if people want to make rude comments or whatever, just, what is it? Water off a duck's back.
That's right.
You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what their circumstances are. You kind of take things with grace and move along. You don't need to apply anything anyone tells you. Do what's best for you and for your family. 'Cause yeah, that's what it is. So anyways, there's one quote at the bottom I wanted you to read.
Oh yeah.
Before, and then we'll close.
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah.
This is from a longer article I wrote. If anybody wants it, happy to send it to you. But it's basically this idea of there is no greater work on the earth than that of a mother. So one mom wrote that a mom's work, if done faithfully, it will be immortalized. It said, the majesty of heaven will write the name of that faithful mother in the book of immortal fame. I just love how that was described. That basically, don't think your work is less important than the woman who's pounding away at her career, making all this money, whatever the things in life you think, well, I could have done that, or why don't I have that? You have a child that will shape their life, and through their life, many other lives. Don't discredit how important that is.
You are not just a mom. You are doing the most important role
on the earth.
You will ever do, that I feel like God has called us to do. And it's amazing. And I think, to anyone that mothers or helps take care, if you're an aunt, if you're a friend, if you're a sister, you don't have your own kids, but you help shape a kid's life.
Amazing work.
You are doing an amazing work. And so don't forget that, and know that your name is being written down in history as you doing your best job. So keep it up.
Keep it up.
You're doing a good job, moms. If you need to hear it from anyone today, you're hearing it from us. Thank you, moms. You're doing a good job. So Yeah. Thank you for listening and for being a part. And we will be back next time.